Welcome. Today we have a viewer special where one viewer asked me, is there a favorite opening trap which you have? And if so, is there maybe even one which you created on your own? And luckily the answer is yes. And so today I will show you my favorite opening trap, and it's one which I often use in blitz games. So the trap occurs in the Philidor defense. So white opens with the move e4. And after the moves knight f3, d6, d4, takes, we land in the Antoshin line of the Philidor defense. So this is the main starting position of the Antoshin line. And now white has a lot of different options, including, for instance, playing bishop e3, bishop f4, bishop e2, g3, knight d2, queen f3, and so on. But one line which you will see a lot, especially in blitz games, and especially if your opponent is not prepared, is the move bishop c4. So I think this is like one of the most obvious moves that you would play as white if you see the position for the first time. The move bishop c4 is not bad at all. So the fact that there is a trap doesn't mean that this line is bad. So the trap now happens after the moves castles. Black takes on e4. White takes the knight, and now black wins back the piece with the move d5. So now I'm attacking both the knight on e4 and the bishop on c4, and white has to decide which piece to save. And since the bishop is the stronger piece, most people go for the move bishop d3 here. So it should be mentioned that white can also take on d5 when, for instance, after knight c3, you can go back to d7 or d8. I think both are fine. And you have the pair of bishops. White is a little bit better developed, so the position is around equal. So what you will get most frequently instead of bishop takes d5, though, is the move bishop to d3. And in this position, after d takes e, bishop takes e4, this is where my trap starts. So black has two different options here. One is the more solid knight to d7, which leads to a roughly equal game. And the other one is a little bit more adventurous move, and the move which sets the trap. And this is the move rook to e8. So I played this move, as I said, on numerous occasions. Usually the way that you want to do it is you wait for a few seconds in the game and only then play the move rook e8, because otherwise your opponent suspects that you are still in preparation and might therefore be a bit more careful and try to avoid your trap. So this worked for me in many cases, for instance, even against Luke von Wely. So I won a lot of different blitz games even against very, very strong players with this trap. Okay, after rook e8, white has several different options. And I will show you first the option which leads to the trap, or in which case the trap actually works out. And this is the move rook to e1. So the move rook to e1 is not the best move in the position. And after rook to e1, white has already to be very, very careful to just get a playable position at all. Okay, so after rook e1, black goes bishop f6. And this is the idea of the trap. So right now I'm attacking the white knight. If the white knight retreats, let's say to f3 or something, I can just take on d1 and now win a full piece on e4. And note that the back rank is protected by my bishop on f6, so white cannot go rook d8 check. So therefore, after bishop f6, white has to make a move, which is different from knight f3. And so one move is knight b5. This pretty much leads to the same lines which we are going to see in a minute anyhow. So I will show you the move c3, which is again the move that you will see most often. It's very logical. You protect the knight on d4. And in this case, black now goes c5. c5 again attacks the knight on d4. And if the knight moves, we again get the same idea that you can take on d1 and on e4. And therefore, one other move that we should study before we see the move knight to b5, which is the most complicated move, is the move queen to h5. Queen to h5, which threatens queen to h7. But in this case, black just plays rook takes e4, rook takes e4, and c takes d. And after c takes d4, black has different options. For instance, you can just go for bishop e6, followed by knight c6, and black is material up, and the d4 pawn is going to fall eventually as well, and the position is close to winning. So therefore, queen h5 does not really work, and instead, most white players here, after taking some time, are going to go for the move knight to b5. Yeah, the idea is quite obvious that if I now do the same as in the other line, takes, rook takes e4, white wants to go for knight to c7, trying to capture this rook on a8. I know at first glance it might seem like you just lose an exchange as black, and this is not true. So the problem for white is that this knight is not going to return home after taking on a8. The line goes as follows: knight a6, knight takes a8, and now just bishop to f5. And in the next move, black is going to go rook to e8, and then just win back this knight on a8, and then black ends up with two pieces for the rook. So yeah, one potential line to illustrate it would be bishop to e3, rook to e8, and now white might still take one pawn, for instance like this, but then I could just take back the bishop, and black ends up having two bishops against one rook and a pawn, but this position is just clearly better for black. So let me mention one thing. So in this position, instead of the move knight to c7, there is a way of still saving the position for white, but this has never been played against me and is only shown by the computer. And it's the very, very unintuitive move f3 here, an intermediate move. And after, now let's say rook e2, white now goes knight c7. And the idea, we'll show in a second, knight a6, knight a8, and now after bishop f4, there are sometimes motives with g4, and also the move bishop f4 is now possible, which allows white to answer the move rook to e8 with knight to c7. But now after rook b2, the computer gives another very strange line: bishop e5, bishop g5, bishop f4 back, the idea of back rank mate, bishop f6 back, and the computer says the position is a draw. Well, nobody's going to play f3 against you, so you should not be worried about this at all. So let's go back a few moves to the position after rook e8. So we saw that the move rook e1 leaves white with a lot of trouble after the move bishop to f6. So instead of this, white has a few other options, and white even has one more option of going wrong immediately, and this is the move bishop to e3. In this case, black goes bishop to d6, and if now white goes queen to f3, protecting the bishop, black has a nice double attack on the bishop and the pawn on h2, which would fall with mate. So after, let's say, g3, queen takes e4, again, black is up a whole piece. So this is basically the second way to go wrong with white, to go bishop e3 followed by queen f3. And so there's even a third way of going wrong, and this is connected to the move c3. So after c3, black can try the same thing, the move bishop to d6, and again after queen f3, queen h4, we have the same double attack and black wins a piece. So what should white do? Well, after rook e8, white has a couple of decent moves. One move is to go c3 and then not play queen f3. So for instance, c3, bishop d6, bishop to c2. Another option that white has is to play bishop to f3 immediately. Again, the position is roughly equal. Or yet another option is to go knight to f5. And now black has to decide if you want to give up the pair of bishops with the move bishop takes f5 or knight c6 for that matter, or if you want to try to play this position after bishop f6. Yeah, so in this case, after knight f5, maybe white is a little bit better, no matter what you do, but it's not much. So if you take now on f5, you have a slightly worse endgame. If you play knight c6, you also have a slightly worse endgame. Let's say takes, 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 and black's structure is slightly compromised, but the position is still absolutely playable for black. So this is not really that big of a problem. Well, so this was my short introduction to the Philidor trap, which I created on my own after the line with bishop c4, starting with this move 10 rook to e8, which works pretty well in a lot of blitz games. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope you will try out this trap on your own, and I wish you a lot of success with it. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.
When you have stress, play chess. When you fall on your ass, play chess for a real deal, for Christian seal.